Dear members, it's my privilege and honor to introduce our today's speaker for rational and significance of peer review. CA Ayush Jain is FCA by profession and who surrendered his certificate of practice and founded a unique and only startup in India engaging in niche consulting practice focused exclusively on empowering practice CA firm since 2019. With over 5 years of specialized experience, he supports CA firms in strengthening their operation, capacity building, staying compliant, and managing regulatory complexities. His core areas of expertise includes ICA regulation, especially peer review, quality review, NAFRA review, and code of ethics readiness, standard operation procedures, and internal firm manual. Representation before regulatory bodies such as ICI Disciplinary Committee, NAFRA, SFIO, and ED. A renowned speaker in professional circles who has delivered 100+ sessions on the topics in the various forums of ICI. He has been associated with the ICI Ethical Standard Board for the year 2022-2026. More than anything else, he is having hands-on experience of more than 150 CAs from as a client from all part of the country. With this brief introduction, I present before you CA Ayush Jain. Over to you, sir. I request Chairman of Bengaluru branch to escort the speaker and welcome him with a floral bouquet. Thank you.
Good morning all.
Good morning.
To begin with, I'd like to thank Peer Review Board, Bangalore branch, for fourth phase of peer review mandate and especially the approach taken by the Madhukar sir. I'm meeting him for the first time, even seeing him for the first time, and the approach of direct what are the concerns of the members in this regard. For the last four concerns pertaining to the manual process, including the this peer review allotment and technology part, PDF concern shared by that member, the peer manual part shared by you. For these four concerns, I wish to inform you that just yesterday I had a program, another program at Hyderabad, peer review training program itself, and the peer review board chairman Purushottam Khandelwal ji was there. Basically a framework, a system, completely you can say there is already established website. I guess you mentioned the website, right? There is already a website whereby all the process flows, all the communications, all the submissions are digital, recorded, logged, automatically picked up at quality review board level. It's already there, already been almost 1 year, it's operational. Okay, for peer review, it has already been made, everything is done, the system is at the turnkey step that they just need to implement it. Everything is already there, right from the application part, for the PDF or Word file you mentioned, application is already there in the digital format with information pre-filled from the self-service portal. For the UDN partner mentioned about partner-wise UDN, they have linked it to the UDN portal. Okay, so several things are already there, and for the peer reviewer allotment part, it's already there that it will be generated automatically by the system without any manual intervention or any undue influence of any CCM or whosoever. Okay, so it's already there. However, it was launched initially launched on 19th of June at a Bhopal program. I was addressing that program, however withdrawn at the same day. Withdrawn same day because of some internal issues they faced, and now it is at the mercy of the council to get it released, and it is just the willingness of the council to get it released. It is ready as informed by the Purushottam Khandelwal sir. It is just upon the council to launch the same without delay. It is complete. Okay, this is the first information because last 4 queries pertain to the same thing. So I just wanted to clarify on this part. Second part was the last query raised by ma'am regarding the extension. Now, when it comes, she mentioned 2 aspects, phase 3 and phase 4. For the phase 3, let me inform you. First, we'll go by the mandate first. Okay, that way you'll basically understand what is phase 3 and phase 4. This is ICI Peer Review Board website. This is peer review mandate. I'll brief you about the website later. First, let me cover the key aspect here. This is the mandate. See, I intentionally use ICI website because my PPT will not serve much of the purpose. Ultimately, it also contains ICI links only. Okay. So this is the mandate. Whenever you wish to refer, what is the mandate, what is the phase, this is the original mandate. And this is still relevant except for these 3 dates which have been extended for various reasons as pressures from the members itself. Okay, this is the original mandate and let me explain you how it is. Phase 1 is for the listed entities. It is a reinforcement basically. It was already there by the SEBI since 2010. So it's a reinforcement by ICF. That's all. Okay. Now, how public company having turnover of more than 1,000 crore rupees, then you were supposed to have a peer review certificate with extended date 1st July 2024. If the phase mentioned by the ma'am, if you have statutory audit of entities, let me clarify the term statutory audit. What is the meaning of statutory audit which we understand in the normal trade parlance? Companies audit, right? However, for the yes sir, stat audit, right?
Trusted.
I didn't get it. Trust audit, okay. But for the purposes of limited purposes of peer review, this is the FAQs issued by ICI Peer Review Board on 24 December 24. They have clarified that meaning of statutory audit for the limited purpose of peer review, which is audit under any law. Trust is covered under Indian Trust Act. Your tax audits are also covered. Now let's read this term again. Tax audit of partnership, tax audit of proprietorship client, if having raised more than 50 crores of borrowings, even that is covered. And there is one more clarification. There has been lot of confusion, especially because of this phase 3 in the past 6 months. How to read it? Statutory audit of entities for having raised funds more than 50 CR. Okay, now statutory audit, stop here. Statutory audit of any body corporate, including trust, which are covered under public interest entity. This is how it is to be read. Not all trusts are covered. Let me clarify. It's a very big question across all masses, across country. Not all trusts are covered. No private trust, temples, no, they are not blatantly covered. They are not explicitly covered. Only those trusts or only those entities which are covered under the definition of public interest entity. What is public interest entity? This is a term defined under Code of Ethics Volume 1 Glossary section. Please refer it. Only those entities which are covered under that definition will get covered under phase 3 and no other trust. What does that definition cover? Listed entity. There are 5 coverage. One is listed entity, second is bank, third is insurance company, fourth is any entity in whose bylaws it is mentioned that it should be treated as a public interest entity, not public charitable trust. It should be treated as a public interest entity. Okay, and the fifth part is any other entity which the CA wishes to select or deems to select or consider as a public interest entity. So So the fifth one is not explicit covered. It is given at the choice of CA. This is in accordance with the global definition of public interest entity under ISBA. The same has been adapted by the Ethical Standard Board as well. So not all. Yesterday itself at Hyderabad, one member raised this query. If the trust has raised funds of more than 15 crore, they have received donation. So, and it's a public charitable trust. Will it be treated as a public interest entity? Now, it is not listed on social stock exchange. It is not bank. It is not insurance company. In its bylaws, it is not written that it should be treated as and audited as a public interest entity. Now, the fifth option left. It is completely at the choice of the practitioner, auditor, whether to treat such entity as a public interest entity or not, considering the nature and size of the operations of the entity. So it is your choice. Two CAs may have a different view, but it is acceptable. It is completely at the choice of the auditor concerned. Okay? And the last part is which proposed to undertake the branch audits. This is the phase 4. This phase was from 1st July 2025. And this is 1st January 2026. Again, its meaning is in case you wish to accept the branch audit, in case you wish to accept the tax audit of such entity, you need to have a peer review certificate as a prerequisite of acceptance, not just for signing. Okay? Similarly, this is regardless of the constitution of the firm. Now, the second part is regardless of the nature of clients you are having, any number of audits, regardless of that, in case your FRN, firm registration number, in case your firm constitution certificate is having 5 or more partners, 4 or more partners, or 3 or more partners, you need to have a peer review certificate in order to accept any audit. Any statutory audit means any audit under any statute. So this is the requirement, and the dates are 1st July 24, 1st July 25 and 1st January 26. It's already extended by 9 months. Firstly. Secondly, for those who are concerned if there is any extension, let me inform you this mandate came in 2022. There was ample time. Firstly. Secondly, practically, I don't think anybody will be getting bank audit in January. The appointment will be made in March. So even if you are getting the certificate on 15th of January, what difference will it make to you? So it's already extended practically. Why are you asking for extensions?
No, now between now and between March, you will not take any other audit also.
But which audit you will do? Tell me.
If you are doing concurrent audits,
Concurrent audits, it's not bad, no? Where do you want? If you are having two partners,
three partners.
For 3 partners, yeah, then you require. Then you. Because if concurrent audit is as per Banking Regulation Act, it is required. So it is required.
So, but the audit was already accepted. Do we have any restrictions?
No, so acceptance will not get invalidated. So, for example, you obtained a peer review certificate on, let's say, 15th of January.
Yes.
For December report, concurrent audit report, now if you cannot sign and put in the system of the bank concurrent audit report on 10th of January, but you can put it on 16th of January. In case you receive peer review certificate email on 10th or 15th of January.
In between you cannot do any attestation service also.
No, not attestation, only audit. Certification you can.
Here it only tells before accepting any statutory audit. It doesn't talk about.
Ma'am, it's an extended meaning, of course. Naturally, if you cannot accept, how can you sign? Also, we just faced a case of a CA firm in Delhi, whereby it was a very big CA firm, conducted various listed audits, and during the COVID, they faced a challenge that they started the peer review procedure, and but they could not complete the peer review procedure and audited a particular issued the audit report of a listed entity on 20th May 2021, I guess, and while they received the peer review certificate on 27th May. Peer review board, after the entire peer review procedure, peer review board asks them for a detailed submission by way of a show cause notice, that they ask for the dates. On the date of appointment, did you happen to have peer review certificate? On the date of report, did you happen to have a peer review certificate? If not, then provide detailed explanation, was it impacted by the COVID or not? So yes, on both the date it is required. Okay. So I hope we are clear with the mandate. There are no queries pertaining to the mandate. Now I will come to the original session, the significance and rationale. So peer review, firstly let me inform you one thing, let me clarify two things first. Peer review is not investigation. So many CAs are afraid that another CA will come to our office and review our records and may object the audit reports for the sample selected. Let me tell you, he or she will review your records, everything is there. But the peer reviewer cannot question the opinion of the audit report selected in the sample. It is part of the scope of the quality review board, not of the peer review. Okay? However, what is the purpose of peer review? What comes under the scope of peer review? If in one sentence if I cover, then in peer review is a review of implementation of SQC1 across FRN during the period under review. In one sentence, this is the summary of the entire peer review. Now, my entire discussion will come across this sentence only. Let me repeat, peer review is a review of implementation of SQC1 across FRN during the period under review. Now, whenever we talk about peer review, we'll talk about firm, not a particular branch. Although ICA has permitted that you can have, if you have 16 branches, you can have a 16 peer reviews and then a consolidated certificate will be issued. However, we never recommended it. It takes more time, 16 times of the time, 16 times of the cost. So we always recommend have one centralized peer review only. Okay. Now, peer review, secondly, why if I have one sentence, two sentences if I cover, why peer review is necessitated. The very first part is, it is because so that central government relies upon so that the dignity of the attestation service remains maintained, it remains continued, and our attestation service remains the sole independence with us only. I mean, it doesn't get diluted. This is the first object, because we as an auditor, we ask everywhere. We questions the entities, but who questions our process? Who questions us? Have CAs answered anybody till yet? No. Even many senior professionals have got offended. We will answer to somebody because they have never been questioned. This is the primary, this is the only procedure to ensure that you have a system as required by the ICAI, as formed by the system required by the ICAI. So peer review is not a review of 10 files. It's a review of the system of audit of performing attestation services. It has nothing to do with your non-attest work. So if you are having a turnover of 1 CR and handling 100 clients, where 2 audits or let's say 10 audits you are undertaking, 90 clients you are serving ITRs or litigation or fund advisory, 90 clients, nothing to related to with the peer review. Only for the 10 clients peer review will fall in line, will come into picture. Okay, so the objective, which I mentioned, peer review is process on the based on principle of systematic monitoring of procedures adopted and records maintained while carrying out assurance function to ensure and sustain quality. This is the objective. It is all from the books made available to you. I hope you have received the books. It is primarily concerned again ensuring and enhancing the quality, public interest, serving the public interest, intended to review the quality control framework of the firm, again system of the firm, Objective, that you have complied with technical, what are technical standards? Standards on auditing, standards on quality control, which needs to be complied by the CAs. Technical standards are accounting standards. Professional standards are standards on auditing, and ethical standards are code of ethics. And have in place proper systems including documentation thereof. This is the primary purpose and objective. Peer review does not define what is to be done and how audit is to be done. No, the authority belongs to AASB. It is already defined. Everybody is aware. It only aims to check whether the same what has already been defined is already been implemented or not. Okay. Now, again, the objective is the quality itself. This is the definition. Peer review means an examination and review of systems and procedures. Again, systems and procedures, policies, your SOPs, your formats. Firstly, and then are they implemented in each of the sample selected client? Okay. Then whether the same have been put in place by the practicing unit. Practicing unit is CA firm for ensuring quality of assurance services as envisaged by accounting standards, auditing standards, code of ethics as applicable including AQMM. I'll explain audit quality maturity model wherever applicable, or any other regulatory requirements like SEBI there too, and whether the same were consistently applied during the period under review. This is the key term, that's why I highlighted it. Consistently applied. Many CA firms, what they say, sir, we attended one seminar at branch and realized that we were not following the practice of accepting or getting MRL from the clients. So in the last year we started accepting MRL. However, in the initial 2 years we did not accept. And we all are aware, sir, it's an ongoing process. Learning is an ongoing process. So it should be treated like we have adapted and our peer review certificate should be issued. No, sir. Let me inform you. It was a requirement as per 580, SA 580, right from the inception of SA 580. So you need to have, and the process needs to be there in all the 3 years. Then what shall review will cover? Again, compliance with directions of the council, compliance with directions issued by the council related to article assistance. So your HR part will also get covered. Again, peer in as against the primary most common misconception amongst the CAs that peer review is a review of 10 files. It will also cover website of the firm. It will also cover HR part, stipend register, article register of the firm. It will also cover how do you accept the client. It will also cover tender application including the cost sheet and BOQ submitted at the time of filing of the tender for the audit client. Again, in the scope of peer review, it shall apply only assurance clients as I mentioned. Explicitly, it includes all the non-assurance function. Generally, it has been seen that CAs generate UDN for these two engagements also. This compilation and due diligence. It has been seen. So, even if you have generated UDNs for these two engagements, these are explicitly excluded from the peer. How you need to prepare the documents and how UDNs are to be bifurcated, that I'll explain you at the time of explaining application 1. Okay. Now, when it comes to basics and why peer review, I have already explained. Peer review, two parts. Firstly, peer review is unavoidable. Of course, it's not significance of it. However, it is there to stay whether you like it or not. Secondly, peer review is creating a basis for CA firms to justify their quality at public domain. How? Your firm's name. If you are a peer reviewed firm and you approach a client, okay. Now, what you will say? Sir, we are a qualitative firm, we have this, we have such independence. Let's say the shareholders of the entity and the management of entity, it's different, separate. How will you, and what the shareholders expect? Transparency, governance, That's what they expect. How will you justify that you will ensure the same? Your firm's name, if you have a peer-reviewed firm, your firm's name will be visible in public domain at the peer review board website on this link. List of firms having valid peer review certificate. This particular link contains the names of all the CA firms in the country who possess the peer review certificate. So many CA firms are voluntarily opting it for branding purposes. Okay. Second, it is a prerequisite for various engagements and various assignments. In MEF, you have to fill. In C&AG, there is a score of up to 25 points just for possessing the peer review certificate. So it is a prerequisite or eligibility criteria for getting the assignments, for getting the work. Okay. Thirdly, AQMM, Audit Quality Maturity Model. I'll explain you what it is. Because we are on this page, I'll just mention one more thing. Audit Quality Maturity Model, AQMM, is not mandatory for all. Okay, it is not mandatory for all CA firms as on date, and it is rather optional and mandatory only for selective CA firms. Okay, it is mandatory on the CA firms having three type of clients. One is listed, second is bank audits, third is insurance company audits, and for the latter two, bank audit and insurance company audit other than branch audits. So as on date it is mandatory only on these firms, but it is only up to 31st March 26. The scope of AQMM has already been widened, and in the phase manner, similar to the phases of peer review mandate, in the phase manner, AQMM mandatory applicability has already been increased, which you will see, notification is already there. So, however, even if AQMM is not mandatory, many CA firms are opting it because of this reason. See, AQMM level 2, you can see the category of the firm, AQMM level is given. Here, no level is given, no ranking of the CA firm is given. See, for this ASHM, whatever the firm name is, no ranking is given, no ranking is given, no ranking. Now, let me show you one more. See, this firm, this Chennai based firm, ranking 4 is given. Now tell me, except for RBI, C&AG, and you, does any fourth person know what is your RBI category? Your C&AG category? Do anybody know? This category is in public domain. That's why CA firms are also voluntarily opting for AQM. Because this is the factor which is a differentiating factor created between the firms when they pitch to the clients and they claim that we are this category firm, we are one of the elite firm. How do they justify? Not by just their words or a handsome or well crafted website, but because of this ranking. It is the reverse ranking. Basically, in MEF we say RBI category 4 is the lowest level, right? In AQMM it is the highest level. So lowest level is 1, then 2, then 3, and 4th is the highest. So this firm is carrying the highest level. I don't know about this firm, but it just came to my notice, so I am just informing you. Yes, sir?
Everybody knows better than
Okay. Okay. So basically, this is the purpose, significance, and this is what is peer review primarily overall is all about. Okay. Now, for the brief of let me brief you, quick brief about the website, very quick brief so that you can use it as per your ease. This is the peer review board address, which has no significance and relevance for you, because all communications with the peer review board are via email only as on date, and eventually it will be via system software. Okay. Then this is the email ID for all communications with the peer review board. Only sole email ID for all communications with the peer review board. Okay, you will send application on this mail, you will get reply on this email, you will get certificate email as well on from this email ID only. So this is the common central email ID. Okay, and in case you are facing any challenge, I'm surprised to hear that especially that peer review board is not responding and everything. Let me tell you, it is one of the board of the ICI from where you can at least expect that you will get a reply. And yes, I'm telling you, I don't know how come you have, primarily I got to hear that you didn't get email reply, which is quite possible because of the volume they are handling, but your concern remains unaddressed. Sorry, I don't agree. The many CAs, more than 25, as I have heard from the chairman, more than 25 CAs from the age, between the age bracket of 25 to 35 are sitting there, and they have been internally instructed to assist the CAs. They are not there to investigate you, they are there to assist the CA firms in getting the peer review certificate in a smooth manner. So, if you are facing any challenge, if you are not comfortable with any process, if you are facing any challenge could be any, you are not aware how to submit, you are not aware that you have sent an email and it's been 7-10 working days and you have not received any response from peer review board. Okay, and or they have raised certain queries and you are not able to understand what they are trying to ask. You have already sent everything. What do they want? What do they want more? And you are frustrated. Whatever concerns you have an option to call on this number. You have an option to call on this number. Mention your FRN and firm name on the email or over the call, and ask for the person whose name is mentioned in the email received to you. At the bottom of the email, there would be a name of a CA mentioned in the email. Call on this number if you have any issue. Call on this number and ask for that particular executive. That I'm calling from this FRN, this firm name, and I received an email from CA ABC, whatever, and I wish to discuss and understand what he or she wishes to convey. Okay. You talk to the board will transfer the call to that CA. You understand the concern, understand the queries, or you raise a concern, and then the person will explain you why he or she is not able to issue you certificate, what wrong you have mentioned, and then you just get it rectified. Respond over the reply email, and your certificate will be issued. It is as simple as that. Okay, but yes, because of the volume catered, because for the entire country this is the only one board sitting at one place. Because of the volume, there are delays. Yes, it is acceptable. There are delays, and because of the volume, there are even delays in replying to the emails. Yes, it is true. But your concerns are not getting resolved. I disagree. You may call and get your concern resolved. Whatever you wish to understand. Basic problem is CAs have not many CAs have read it or gone through the SQC1. Have you? How many CAs have heard the term SQC1? Heard the term? Okay, 10, 15%, 20% I have seen. Okay, how many CAs have gone through SQC1? Half. It is one of the smallest standard of ICI, and I'm not saying it sarcastically. It is generally the smallest standard, and it's been there since 1st April 2009, mandatorily been there. One of the most ignored standard of ICI, been there since 1st April 2009, and it is finally getting replaced, hopefully getting replaced by globally aligned standard SQM1, SQM2, effective 1st April 2026. So if you have not gone through SQC1, I would suggest that if your firm is to be peer reviewed before 31st March, you review SQC1, or you may directly read SQM1, SQM2. Okay. Now, the books which we have received, these are the links for all these books. The soft versions of all the books which you have received in your hand. These are the soft versions. And for all the peer review, for all the procedure part, for the peer review, these two links contain all the formats for all the procedure for the peer review part. Only these two links contain all the formats. Okay? Now, before I begin the procedure part, I wish to confirm, should we go for tea break? Because once I start, it will be a 1 hour session.
So without any further ado, I would like to give a small announcement. This is regards to two announcements. First announcement, there is a QR displayed on the screen. This is for review for today's program. So we are seeing what is the impact created on the members or the people who are attending, to see how effective the program was, or any suggestions you are interested to give in this regards. You can scan the QR and maybe we'll again display it towards the end. Again you can redo it. If you want, you can scan the QR and keep the page ready. Even if you want to give the review now or after the end of the program, it's left to you. That is first part. Second part, so we are having a new initiative to CA students called Sambrama 2.0, an event which will be held on 14th December, Sunday at APS College, Baswangudi. Now what is this about? We have all heard about Australia's Got Talent, America's Got Talent and things like that, right? Britain's Got Talent, where CA students have lot of art or talents within them, but it's not being utilized well, or they don't have an opportunity to showcase the same. For the same, we have introduced something called as CASA's Got Talent, CGT, Initiative for Students, a pan-India initiative by Bengaluru branch, where all the students in the country can showcase their any talent in that perspective. It can be stand-up comedy, it can be singing, it can be dancing, it can be sand art, it can be any kind of an art, magic tricks or anything in that manner. And we'll have celebrity judges and teams coming up. One of the first of its kind initiative for the country. I would request, thank you sir. I would request everyone to please encourage all your CA students you are knowing, or your articles or past CA students, to please make sure they register for this program and make it a grand success. So I would like to request our speaker without any further ado to come and continue the session. Over to the speaker. Thank you.
Good noon and welcome back from the tea session. Now we are at peer review procedures. To understand the procedure of the entire peer review and everything, this is the relevant link. Let me show you. This particular link, illustrative time schedule, is the most relevant link to understand the peer review procedure end to end. It contains the stepwise guide and also the dates, reference of the dates. While several dates are mandatory and required for CA firms to follow, the dates mentioned for ICR will not be followed in practical. Okay, and let me tell you, this contains the entire procedure and I'll explain you how this procedure is. You may refer it later. In the peer review, the very official process, the very first step is submission of Form 1 application. This is the very first step. Complete signed scanned Form 1 along with complete UDN wise client list is to be submitted to ICI peer review board, at the given email ID by the CA firm. This is the first official procedure. After this email application is submitted, the CA firm will receive a panel of 3 peer reviewers from the location specified by the CA firm in its application. So officially you may not be able to determine which peer reviewer you want. However, officially you can specify the location of the peer reviewer. So let's say you are in Bangalore, you can have a peer reviewer from Kerala, you can have a peer reviewer from Delhi. It is not necessity for you to have a peer review from Bangalore itself. You can have from Hyderabad, from anywhere in the country. It is completely your choice. There is no mechanism as on date for questioning why you have asked for a peer reviewer of that particular location or not. Okay. However, once you receive a panel of 3 peer reviewers, you will get in the mail itself, you will get all the contact details of that peer reviewer, all the 3 peer reviewers. You may contact each of the person and obtain their consent, in principle consent over the call, and accordingly reply to the ICI that we wish to select this person as our firm's peer reviewer. If you are not comfortable with any of the 3 peer reviewers, or none of the 3 peer reviewers have expressed their willingness to take up the engagement, then what you can do, you can ask for a fresh panel. It is allowed. Okay? How practically things work? For example, in case of April month, in case of September month, CS don't have time to carry out or to accept the peer review engagement. So peer review board take cognizance of it and they simply send a fresh panel of peer reviewers. Okay? Now, after you have mailed to ICI that we wish to select this particular person as a peer reviewer, then after that the ICI will issue a appointment email, whereby directly addressing to the selected peer reviewer with CC to the CA firm. It's a detailed appointment email containing several things, how peer review should be done and everything. Okay. After this, it is still not necessary for the peer reviewer to take up the engagement. Still not necessary. And there is no negative repercussion thereof, just like in C&DG that we allotted you an assignment and you have not accepted, we will now have a negative marking. No such mechanism. Even if the CA is not comfortable in accepting the peer review for any reason whatsoever, then he may deny it at this stage also, and there is no adverse implication. However, if the CA, because already communication was there between the CA firm and the peer reviewer, so the CA needs to accept the peer review engagement by submitting signed form to acceptance cum confidentiality form. Formats I'll show you. On the link all formats are there, and form 2 needs to be submitted by the peer reviewer to the CA firm with preferably with CC to the ICA peer review board. Okay. Now it contains a lot of clauses. It's a 2-page form. However, few things I would like to mention here. Firstly, it contains a clause that no disciplinary proceedings are pending against the peer reviewer. Okay. Second condition is out of several conditions. Second condition is peer reviewer must have not undergone articleship training under any of the partners of the CA firm. Okay, this condition was not there before October 22, and we all know how those peer review must have gone through. However, now since October 22, this loophole has been plugged, and it can, however, vice versa is still possible. So principal can undertake the peer review assignment of the article assistant, but article cannot. Okay. Now these two things, and the third thing is there cannot be a financial relationship, professional relationship between the CA firm and peer reviewer in the preceding 2 or 3 years, and also a commitment and declaration in the subsequent 2 to 3 years. So this needs to be acknowledged at that level itself. And here comes, I'll just take your query, sir. Here comes 2 things. One is the senior CAs which normally offers a relationship to the peer reviewer. For you just connect with us. There are a lot of scope available. So at least officially such scope and relationship cannot be materialized for at least 2 to 3 years officially. And another query is many CAs say, so our friend who is our auditor can very well be our peer reviewer, but there is a catch to it that even officially on papers there is a audit fees which the CA firm must have paid to their friend auditor as well. So these two most common queries we receive from the members, so which I wanted to clarify. Yes sir, you were saying something.
Only two. You said 2 or 3.
I was not clear whether it's 2 or 3, but it's mentioned. It's mentioned over there. Now, after this, after the peer reviewer has given its declaration in Form 2, after that, CA form, if you have noticed, Form 1 application was submitted to ICR, but peer reviewer has not received the Form 1 application. Right? Now, at this stage, CA firm needs to submit Form 1 application to the peer reviewer. And this particular date is very critical because entire procedure needs to be closed within 15 working days of submission of correct Form 1 application by the CA. Otherwise, there requires an extension. And the date, how this date is tracked, the date is to be mentioned in Annexure 1 to peer review report. This date is the first submission to be specified in the Annexure 1 to peer review report. I mentioned correct application, not application. I mentioned correct application. It may happen that after submission of application, peer reviewer observes certain things. There are certain omissions are there in the application, and CA firm gets them corrected. It often happens that the CA firm didn't fill certain questions, and later on they filled it, completed the application, and then they submitted. So 15 days from the date of correct Form 1 application. Okay. Now, after the submission of Form 1 application to the peer reviewer by the CA firm, there is an option, choice at the peer reviewer to ask for additional information. Choice, not mandatory. However, this choice is normally exercised by the peer reviewers, and if such choice is exercised, the relevant form is Form 6 to ask for additional information. At this stage, normally peer reviewers ask for, first document is constitution certificates. Firm's constitution certificates, self-service portal generated. Okay. Second is CP records of all the partners and paid assistants who were there in the firm during the period under review, regardless whether such CAs are still continuing with the firm or not. It doesn't matter. Okay. Now, third thing they ask is audit manual, detailed audit manual. Why do they ask is it is the first question in Part B of Form 1 application, that does the firm possess a quality control manual? Is it in writing? Is it signed by all the partners? Is the first requirement. Again, in the AQMM, it's a detailed requirement of standard audit manual, standard procedures, standard formats. Not many formats are there. So at this stage itself, peer review asks for it because ultimately it's all about that audit manual. So because it contains all the policies, all the procedures which needs to be checked according to the SQC1 compliance as per SCs, as well as it needs to be checked that the application Part B is filled as per the audit manual, and thirdly the sample selected needs to be checked if such audit manual is implemented in such sample or not. That is why at this stage itself audit manual is asked generally. And the fourth thing the peer reviewer generally asks is UDM wise client list in Excel format. Why do they ask is because of the sample criteria. Sample selection criteria is such that they require Excel format UDN-wise client list, because otherwise, let's take an example. If you have 500 UDNs, which is not a big thing, very common. Okay, the criteria, sample selection criteria is highest turnover statutory audit client needs to be picked mandatorily. Now, it is undesirable and it is impractical to expect to go with each line item in a very small scanned format, and it may result into undesired errors and to go through the entire process again. So Excel format, simply put a filter into it and you can have the highest turnover client. That's why. So at this stage itself, peer reviewer asks for UDN wise client list in Excel format as well as reconciliations. Audit limits reconciliations as well as UDN reconciliation from UDN portal vis-a-vis the list you have submitted. How it is to be prepared, I'll just show you at the time of explaining the clause 22 of part A of form 1. Okay, I'll just explain you after this procedure. Yes sir.
Sir, while generating a UDN, should the client list be name of the client be mentioned?
In the internal reference, which is not visible publicly, it is recommended to mention.
But if we get printout, it's likely to be leaked and
I'm not getting what you are saying.
if it is even in printout, it is likely to be leaked to outsiders.
Sir, I am saying there are two columns. At the time of generating UDN, there are two columns. One is visible externally, one is remarks for internal reference only. The second column for internal reference only, it is not visible publicly.
He is asking for whether we need to give client name for peer review.
No. He was asking for UDN portal, sir.
No, not for
UDN portal you were asking.
UDN client list usually mentioned.
For UDN portal you were asking.
Sir,
Yes.
SPC should be signed by all the partners
Yes.
or the main partner?
All. Okay. Now after this step, when the peer reviewer has asked for additional information, now CA firm will be submitting, the practice unit will be submitting the replies to it, making the submissions. Then peer reviewer needs to create a sample. How it should be created, that I'll discuss. Needs to create a sample of at least 10 UDNs and submit form 5. Form 5 is notice of visit. So earlier and even today, but earlier it was mandatory to have a physical visit in the peer review. However, since COVID, the same virtual peer review option has already been given. So you can have a physical peer review, you can have a virtual peer review. It is absolutely optional at the choice. However, physical peer review is generally preferable by both the parties. It is by both the parties. However, if you have things in line and you can explain over any desk, over call, over anything, it is absolutely acceptable. Okay. Form 5 is submitted along with the sample 10 UDNs. Thereafter, on the desired date, peer review is conducted, which includes the review of all the supporting documents of each submission in Form 1 application. This is the first part. Second part is review of supporting documents of the 10 samples, and especially considering the submissions in Form 1 application as well as taking into account of the peer review report Annexure 1 and Annexure 2. Because I'll show you the Annexure 2 of peer review report contains essay-wise reporting. Whether did you find any document if essay 300 audit planning document was there in the sample or not. So essay-wise reporting is there in Annexure 2. Okay, and at the same time, let me inform you one thing. It is mandatory for peer reviewer to maintain working papers for at least 18 months from the date of signing of peer review report. Where it is mentioned in the books given to you in peer review guidelines under the section obligations of peer reviewer. So in point number 3 and point number 6, it is clearly mentioned that 18 months from the date of peer review report, records needs to be maintained. On what basis did the peer reviewer issue clean report and all the submissions he made in the report and annexures thereto. At the same time, I'll give you an example. At the same time, there is a requirement. Let's take an example. There is a requirement in Annexure 2 of peer review report, SA 505. There is a requirement that if the peer reviewer observe in out of the 10 samples, observe that external confirmations were obtained or not, SA 505 was compliant or not. And if he observed in out of 10 samples, if he observed that external confirmation procedure was there, now as I mentioned earlier, peer reviewer was required to keep documentation thereof. So what, as a peer reviewer, what you will do? Tell me, what you will do to maintain the documentation? And the cases of debtor's confirmation, one debtor confirmation, one creditor confirmation, one bank balance confirmation. Now what you will do?
You check whether it's Excel confirmation.
So for the documentation?
Number of debtors there, how many years received?
Okay.
Number of creditors, how many? You only just know that.
We cannot collect the samples.
Yes. Basically, normally one peer reviewer may think that just keep a copy of it, make it a copy and we'll keep in our record for our documentation. But it is not allowed.
No copy.
Please note that it is not allowed, legally it is not allowed to obtain copies of extracts of the working file of client of such CA firm. No copy of any working file, audit file of any document that pertain to the client of the CA firm can be obtained by the peer reviewer. However, at the same time, documentation needs to be kept. How such documentation need to be made? Noting, very detailed, particular noting in such a manner that it speaks for itself that yes, I saw that document. How it can be? Let's take an example of bank balance certificate. So what you can write? Let's say it is an account in State Bank of India. State Bank of India account number this, balance, closing balance this, signed by manager name this, designation this, signed on this date with branch stamp. Now, if you have written all these things, it is clearly apparent it is clearly apparent that you saw that document and only then you are able to write all those particulars. So you may not be able to take the document, but your noting should be such. Understood? Now, after this entire peer review, your website is reviewed, HR procedures are reviewed, engagement letters are reviewed, MRL are reviewed, your audit observations are reviewed, and annual partners meetings, minutes are reviewed, okay, annual declarations are reviewed, everything is reviewed. In case peer reviewer finds any challenge or finds any omission, anything is there, then he or she has an option to issue preliminary report. Why did I say option? It is not necessary to issue peer review report. It is often seen that peer reviewer and CA firm talk with each other, sir, these 5 things are missing and I'll visit again. In the meanwhile, you get the things organized wherever they are in the office, you organize and you share with us, and I don't intend to issue preliminary report. But even if he is issuing, there is no adversity to it, there is no harm. Okay. So, however, in case the peer reviewer wishes to issue a qualified report, then preliminary report is a mandatory part. Okay. Now, if the peer reviewer wishes to issue, opts to issue preliminary report, then 3 preliminary report will be issued. As I mentioned earlier and explained by one CA sitting here, that first, all the points need to be mentioned in the preliminary report issued by peer reviewer to the CA firm. Then CA firm needs to reply point wise for against each observation, and then peer reviewer needs to provide again satisfaction remark or whatever remarks against each of the submission of the CA firm. And all these 3 independent reports will form part of the final report submission to the ICA peer review board. Okay. Now, these 3, after the issuance of these 3 reports, the next step is payment of peer review. And you'll notice that I mean, this is one of the topic where CA firms get a smile and also get a frustration that such a system should also be there in all our audits. That before issuance of the report, we are getting the fees. Because if you notice, peer review report is not issued. You are not even aware if you will issue clean report or how many qualifications he will give. But you have to make the payment first. Otherwise, the peer reviewer has no option, literally no legal option to issue and share with you the signed report. So, this is the peer reviewer fee. Yeah, minimum fee. This is the minimum peer reviewer fee. Let me just show you. Just a second. This is the minimum peer reviewer fee. Firstly, this is minimum and not minimum recommendatory. This is actually minimum mandatory. And secondly, excluding TADA, if any. So it is at the choice of peer reviewer whether to claim or not TADA. Okay. This is, however, exclusive of TADA. Minimum mandatory. Legally, less than this fee cannot be paid. This fee needs to be paid via banking channel only. No such pleas are acceptable that we'll pay later, it's a mutual, and all these things. Okay, it's a recorded session, so I can speak to a limited extent only.
Earlier it was the option.
Earlier, yes.
Even they can charge less.
Sir,
And
I have to-
yes, ma'am.
Can we go beyond the 10 samples? What is
Yes. I'll cover in the sample criteria. Minimum is mandatory.
Minimum is 10 samples.
Yeah. Minimum is 10 UDN.
And if say the period is between 22 to 25, can they go back even if required?
No.
No going.
No.
If UDN is less than 10,
The certificate will be issued for a period less than 3 years. 18 months. So this is the minimum fee, peer review fee which needs to be paid. This is other than AQMM. Yes, ma'am.
I have one question regarding that intermediate.
Regarding that
Intermediate report.
preliminary report.
Preliminary.
Yes, ma'am.
Preliminary. Now, suppose I observe some omission,
Mm.
and that could be possible that maybe the omission or they missed to submit some of the things. Maybe after some time they will submit. Now, there could be two situations that they are able to submit and they may not be able to submit. Okay. Now, qualification will come at the end of the period. That time I will know whether this omission is real omission or not. That means in between itself, if there is any problem, then I will have to release the preliminary report.
Yes.
I mean, by default.
Yes, you are right.
Right?
Yes, you are. Now, in this case of, yes sir, you were saying something? Okay. In case of this peer review fees, firstly, this is, while it is mentioned that this is from assurance practice only, however, if you have, at the time of UDN wise client list, I'll show you, it's an option given to the CFO. It is completely an option given to the CA firm. You can pay the peer review fees from your assurance practice turnover, or you can pay the fees from your total turnover, based on your total turnover, as per P&L. It is complete choice. Both the options are given in the form 1 application. Whatever option choice you make, accordingly you may pay the peer review fees. Now many will say, sir, of course we'll opt for the lesser one. Why would we pay extra? So there are practical reasons associated to it. Practical as in, not every CA firm is comfortable in disclosing UDN wise fees for various reasons. You may or may not have received the fee for against each UDN expressively. There are various reasons. So, and there are lot many handling tactics also, that in case you are not comfortable in disclosing fees against each UDN. For various reasons, because many CAs are apprehending that the peer reviewer is also from the Bangalore. We are not comfortable with sharing fees for the engagement. So that is why an option is given by the institute to the peer reviewer or to the CA firm that you can pay, you can offer either of the two choices. Yes, sir.
Regarding fees, you said fees is paid first. But actually, we are giving simultaneously a declaration that the peer review report is also given.
No.
We are-
Only after payment.
No, sir. We have to mention the payment is received.
Sir,
We have
only
to
after
mention-
payment. That is what I am saying. I'll come to that part.
No, no.
After the payment is made.
But nothing wrong in paying first.
Sir, मैं तो कभी कह ही नहीं रहा. I'm not saying what's the harm in getting the fees received in advance. You should receive all the fees in
What I
advance.
am telling, we are mentioning the payment is made by so and so. Proof we are giving.
Yes.
As well as we are giving a declaration, the copy of peer review report is submitted.
Yes,
So
that's what
practicing it.
So I'm just indicating that CAs should adapt this practice in general routine as well. That's why I said in such a manner. It is a procedure and we should also adapt this practice. I follow this practice personally.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is the basic fees 1525 based on the firm's turnover, and in case of listed this gets increased by this amount, and in case AQMM is being opted, then this additional fee is also applicable additionally. Okay? Okay. Now after the fees is paid, one more thing, peer review assignment engagement is being allotted in individual capacity to the peer reviewer. So let's take an example. That peer review assignment has been received by him, okay, and he is part of a partnership firm with 3 partners, okay. Now he cannot raise the invoice of peer review of, let's say, 25,000 on the name of his firm, but only in his individual capacity, and he will receive the fee in his individual savings account only. However, if he is a proprietorship, if he runs a proprietorship firm, then naturally, of course, he can raise the invoice in his proprietorship firm's name, can receive in his current account, and if GST is applicable, GST would be additional. Okay? Now, after this step, peer review report is issued along with Form 9. Form 9 contains an explicit requirement where first page where peer reviewer says that I am submitting with you the peer review report along with the annexures, and just above the signature he mentions I received the fees. So naturally this form cannot be issued before fees is paid. Okay. Now, and on the second page CA firm acknowledges that yes, I have received everything and I also received the form. Earlier, why this form was introduced? Earlier, CA firms raised several issues with the peer review board that we were not being discussed the peer review report before being shared with the institute. That's why I say specifically created this particular step. Okay. Now, after Form 9 is submitted, signing is done. Then comes the report submission part. The report is to be submitted with these 2 pages as cover letter on the top. These 2 pages. This is the checklist for submission of peer review report. These 2 pages, not the bottom one, only these 2 pages. And just like the C&AG empanelment, I hope many CA firms are doing the C&AG empanelment. I believe I'm right. So just like the C&AG empanelment, whereby we also submit the physical submission, similar to that, this entire needs to be filled. So these 2 pages at the top, and then all the documents mentioned herein after that with page number referencing. And this complete set in single PDF needs to be made by the peer reviewer to the peer review board at the given email ID with CC to the CA. And this email needs to be done within again 15 days from the submission of correct Form 1 by the CA firm to the peer reviewer, or extension can be applied in Form 7. Extension can be applied in Form 7. Form 7 is here. extension can be applied in form 7. Okay. So far any query? Okay. Now after this step, peer review board generally takes 5 to 7 working days at least for processing the peer review report. What I am saying is at least. Okay. While the timeline is specific for the CA firms, the timeline may not be followed by the peer review board because of their own capacity constraints. Now then thereafter, they process the same, they have two options. If they have any queries, any clarifications, they can reply, they can send queries or clarification via email. Their general queries or clarifications include, let's say you have 5 partners and only 3 partners perform the attestation function. So their query could be such that you have submitted the UDNs only for 3 partners, you have not submitted for 2 partners. Kindly clarify if the UDN was generated by any of those 2 partners, and if yes, perform the entire peer review again. Okay. So simple clarification. Sometimes they ask that peer reviewer needs to confirm if he or she has obtained complete UDN wise client list and the same reconciled with the assignment register of the maintained by the firm, fee register maintained by the firm. So clarification in nature, or if you have made any wrong submission in the form on application, or peer reviewer has made some contradictory submission in his report, then they ask to correct it. I mean, they need to clarify and you need to correct it in contravention to SQC1 or internal contradiction. For example, at one place you mentioned firm does not have a website, and on other place you mentioned website is as per ICAI guideline. It's a contradiction. Okay. Then after the reply to it via email only. Peer reviewer or CA firm needs to reply to each of the query via reply email. Okay. And once the reply email is done and institute is satisfied with it, then your file will be placed before the peer review board in the upcoming meeting, which normally occurs earlier it used to occur every week. Now at least every fortnight one meeting is there. Okay. So your certificate will be placed before that peer review board, and generally, although they have option to reject the peer review certificate, but generally they issue the peer review certificate, and then within 1 to 2 working days at the most, you will receive an email from peer review board containing the stating peer review certificate number as well as peer review certificate email as the email title. CA firm will receive, peer reviewer is out of the picture now. CA firm will receive this email containing the certificate number, validity, and within 2 to 3 weeks from the date of this email, from the date of receipt of this email, you will get the certificate delivered, physical certificate delivered at your office. In case it is not received, which is rarely we have heard, in case not received, you may contact the peer review board. It may have stuck somewhere in the postage. Okay. Now, this certificate, and for the intervening period of 2 to 3 weeks, this email containing the certificate number and the validity will serve as the peer review certificate for all the legal purposes. And while the peer review certificate issue date is later, only after the signature is done, peer review certificate is issued with effective date to be the date of submission of peer review report by the peer reviewer. Okay? Okay. Now, this certificate is issued for a period of 3 years. Earlier there were 3 timelines, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. However, now there is a standard timeline. Peer review certificate is issued for a period of 3 years flat. Okay, and at the expiry of 3 years, let's take an example. Let's say your certificate is issued for up to effective 30th November 2025 till 30th November 2028. Okay, now for the last 6 months before expiry, that is, I believe it would be from 1st June, I guess, 1st June 28 till 30th November 28, you can apply for peer review certificate at any given point of time. And let's say you applied on 1st June 28, you received the certificate on 31st July 28, and you say that we suffered a loss of at least 3 months. No. Even at the time of renewal, your certificate will be effective from the next day of the expiry date, that is 1st December 28. So accordingly you can plan as per your working conditions of your office, as per your comfort. This is the entire peer review procedure. If you have any query, this is the time.
And now when it comes to fees, it is a bill or received.
It is billed or which fees?
Now everything, even the fees for the thing, everything based on the our fees, right? What
Yeah, your turnover, no?
Our receipt.
Yeah, yeah.
What is the receipt? It is the amount that you bill and the amount actually received.
If you're opting assurance turnover, then it's billed or accrued basically. And if you are opting as per total turnover of the firm, then as per P&L. If your P&L is as per receipt, it will go accordingly. If your P&L is as per accrual, it will go accordingly. Okay. Any other query? Yes, sir.
For practicing units, turnover 50 crore and above, fees is not defined.
Sir, it is defined.
Only for 30 crore and above they have said.
No, sir, it is defined. See, for 30, sir, it's static fees, na?
No, over 30 crore and above 5 lakhs. For 50 crores and above they should have made 10 lakhs or something. Because they should get it, you know. Our professional brethren, they should get it.
Sir, ICI is still hopeful that they see a CFO with 50 crore of turnover.
But I have to get less fees.
Sir, why do you have to get less fee? You can always ask for more fees.
You see, sample should be verified in the case of 50 crore and above is 50.
Minimum fees. This is minimum fees.
This is minimum, na? You can always ask for more fees.
It's not tallying, that's what I'm telling. Here, 50 crore and above, they should give a current same amount and okay.
Okay.
You have told that we can't take the document.
Yeah, extract of you cannot take the documents of the client of that CFO. However, you can take the document, any document pertaining to that CFO. So you can take the copy of the audit manual, you can take the copy of the appointment letter issued by the CFO to their staff. So any document pertaining internal to the CFO you can take. But you cannot take the document of the client of that CFO.
But here what is to maintain certain minimum record documentation that is represent the adequacy of the quality control policy and procedure followed by the practice.
Notings and the audit manual copy. Audit manual copy will be a document and notings will justify that purpose. You also read peer review guidelines, obligations of peer review. This is peer review manual, right? You must have also received one book of peer review guidelines 2022.
Yes.
In that there is a section of obligations of peer review. You also refer that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Whenever nowadays the Google Drive, all those documents are sharing the practicing.
I'm not getting you.
No, practicing unit.
Practicing unit.
Document, whatever sample you select, they will share through the Google Drive. Suppose you are
Okay.
So when we are downloading those documents, as you said earlier, we should not keep the client documents. Is it a violation?
Yeah. So basically, see, the legal requirement is such. What I explained. Practically, it is between the CA firm and the peer review. Okay. How they wish to get the peer review done. It is between the both. Secondly, instead of sharing, instead of allowing the edit and download rights, they can share only the view access. Thirdly, instead of sharing via Google Drive, they can always show the documents via Google Teams. Via Google Meet or Microsoft Teams or any desk. The purpose is to show, not to give. So it is at the choice of between the two parties. Yes, sir.
Regarding the UDANs, can you repeat?
What would the answer?
UDAN, to take from each of the partner.
I'll explain, sir. That UDN client list now, I'll explain. I'll explain just now. After this now, I'll explain form 1.
And sir, one more, like in the bank, in concurrent audit, we don't have any documents.
Sir, documentation is mandatory and I would suggest that you don't say that you don't have any documents. Many CAs are sitting.
No, in concurrent audit.
Sir, see, in concurrent audit also there is a requirement to maintain documentation. Now, if the bank is not allowing, there are ways and means to get the same. Firstly, there are CA firms who have objected to it because of the adamancy of the bank manager or showing many rules and policies and everything, and they got the thing what they wanted via RO. Okay, there are CA firms. They clearly objected, we cannot sign unless we have documentation, and they mailed the ICI guidelines to the RO, and they got the desired documents. Secondly, another alternate approach. I mean, just 200 to 300 kilometers from Bangalore, there is a CA firm in Bellary whose peer review we got done. What they did, what documents they show, they showed the working diaries maintained by their article assistants of that time. They shown the working diaries of all the notings, all the account numbers mentioned. I mean, I was also surprised to see it was 3 years ago, but they had those diaries maintained in their office. Hand notings.
Sir,
It was there.
We are exploring. Whenever the audit team is going for concurrent audit, there is an Excel sheet which every month we prepare. That each day what they are doing. At the end of the day, the report will come to firm. That can be done.
That can be done. So there are ways and means. There are ways and means. Although I will suggest that first means is the best one. Second is lesser opted because you may get the peer review done. But in case of any hanky-panky thing occurred at the branch level, audit workings will not survive, see the day of the light, but your documentation taken from the bank records will work. So I will suggest the RO route is much more proper. Now, Form 1, I will discuss the Form 1 because I have limited time now. Form 1 application and peer review report and AQMM. These three aspects I will quickly cover. Form 1, the structure of Form 1 is basically divided into 4 parts. One is the preliminary part. This is basic KYC of the CA firm. Here you declare for the location from which you want peer reviewer. Then basic KYC. Okay. Then this part A, part B, part C. Part A is again KYC and profile of the CA firm, website, email, period under review. This period under review is a critical term. Let me inform you one thing. Period under review is preceding 3 financial years from the date of application. I mean, on the date of application, relevant 3 preceding 3 financial years. So even if you apply today or you apply on 21st March 2026, the relevant financial years will be from 1st April 2022 till 31st March 2025. Again, all the UDNs having signing date pertaining to these 3 years are subject to peer review, and not the UDNs generated during this period or not the engagements pertaining to this period. Understood? So, the audits which you have signed recently pertaining to 31st March 25 will not get covered in this cycle. Understood? So, how to do it? I will show you. Just on clause 22, I will explain you. So, period under review is clear?
Now one thing.
Yes, ma'am.
That 10 samples, whatever you told. Suppose for 3 years, we have 300 sample API. Then 10 samples for all 300
I'll show you.
or
I'll explain. Then details of all the partners who were there in the firm, irrespective whether they are continuing with the firm as on date of the application or not. Who were there in the firm during the 3 years, details has to be given. Then details of as on 31st March 2025, as on 31st March 25, and again at the time of peer review will ask for supporting to this. What supporting you will give? Your attendance record you can give, or your salary register for each of the branch you can give, whatever, substantiate. Then I'll cover this 15. This question number 15 will be covered by your QC speaker. Just a surprising question. You read this question and you'll understand, especially those firms, those CAs operating in multi-geographical locations and multi-partnerships, they will understand the significance of this question. You ask this question to your partner and next day you will get a mail, sir, let's separate. You ask just this question. Second question you ask. Just raise this question. And let me inform you, it is mandatory as part of annual inspection monitoring guidelines since 1st April 2009. But it is just like minutes of a private limited company. Nobody asked, nobody prepares. But it was mandatory since then, and peer review is just part of that. Now, this is the option given by the institute, whereby you can opt for any of the option of the turnover, either assurance turnover or the total turnover. Then, this 17, question number 17 I will cover, just written down. 21, 17 I have opted out. Now this clause number 22. While the official procedure begins with Form 1 application, unofficially, if you wish to get your form peer reviewed, this is the first step of for your firm. Don't do anything, do this activity first, because this is one of the most time consuming activity. This is union wise client list preparation. How it is to be done? You need to first prepare in this format in Excel. Okay, what you need to do, just push it, this particular, ignore this A, B and C. I mean, let me scroll down. This is not just A, these are categories. B, C, D, there are several categories, but ignore them for now. Ignore them for now. Put it in Excel, and then this FY column, push this FY column here between this type of engagement and EQCR, okay, and add two columns to it. Column number 1 is UDN, column number 2 is fees, okay. While you submit to ICI, hide those columns, take a printout and submit to ICI. No need to submit UDN and fees to ICI, because they are not asking. Why to submit what they are not asking? As simple as that. However, you need to maintain it because it needs to be submitted to the peer reviewer if he or she is well educated and asking for the same. Again. Okay. Now, you pushed FI here. Now, how it is to be prepared? You download the UDNs for all the 3 years from the UDN portal. Again, UDN portal, UDNs are downloaded as per UDN generation date, not as per date of document. So what you need to do, for each of the partner who was there in the firm, whether or not he or she is alive or not, he or she is still in the firm or not, for all partners who were there in the firm between those 3 years, the detail is to be given. Now, how it is to be done? Download the UDNs from 1st April 2022 till 30th May 2025. Why 30th May? 60 days. 60 days relaxation is allowed. So download for this period. Then put a filter on date of document column. In that date of document column, filter out the UDNs for 1st April 2022 till 31st March 25. All these UDNs are subject to peer review. Now, from here you need to maintain a separate file of reconciliation as well. This is UDNs as per UDN portal. Let's say these are 1000 UDNs. Next column will be now minus remove the UDNs which were revoked. Let's say there were 20 UDNs. So in the reconciliation you will mention revoked UDNs minus 20. Okay, and here you are left with 980 UDNs. In the next column you will mention UDNs for compilation. And in the next column you will mention UDNs for due diligence. Because these two type of UDNs are explicitly excluded. Now let's say there were 50 UDNs in total. Now you are left with 930 UDNs. And in the reconciliation you are left with UDNs as per Annexure A are implemented units. UDNs as per Annexure A, and here UDNs as per UDN portal. Okay, so this is this reconciliation you can submit to the peer reviewer to clarify that yes, all UDNs you have covered in your list. Okay, now how it is to be prepared? UDNs, you have mentioned all the UDNs. Now for each UDN you need to fill corresponding right and left figures. Now signing partner, from UDN you itself get the signing partner name. Then you need to mention branch HO, whoever generated it, then you need to mention for each union client name. Let's ignore this term code. I'll explain it later. Name of the client you need to mention. Okay. After this name, mention signing year. This FY is not the relevant FY for which UTN is generated, but signing year. That is 22-23, 23-24, 24-25. Understood? Then FY, then type of engagement. What is type of engagement? Statutory audit, tax audit, internal audit, concurrent audit, certifications. I did not say net worth certificate. I did not say 15 CSE. Why didn't I say so? I'll just explain to you at the time of sample solution. Okay? Then these three financial figures wherever applicable. If you have a net worth certificate, no need to fill this figure. If you have an audit, all three figures needs to be mentioned. Okay? Then EQCR. Please, just because you are not aware of this term, don't mention yes. CAs have a common practice. Jo samajh nahi aa raha, just mention yes. Sir, it has a very severe implication. Please, your QC speaker will be there. He'll explain you EQCR. I just wish to inform EQCR is mandatory only in case of listed entity audits. Okay, rest depends upon your internal firm manual. Okay. Now, after this is done, you put a filter on this and sort it out alphabetically. Okay. Now, this particular column, you are not, no, don't specify for now A, B and C. Now, let's say you have 50 rows, 50 UDN, so 50 rows for a single client. Merge this particular cell. Only this merge this particular cell. Now you have one client with 50 rows. Understood? We are on the same page? Now, after this is the time when you will select the category. Under which category the client pertains to, belongs to. Of course, specific over general. So if there's a bank, you will specify in bank. Okay, if there's a contradiction, it's your choice whether if there's a contradiction, it's Ind AS also and it's more than 100 CR also. You have a choice. You can put the client in any of the two categories. But one client will be mentioned in only one category. Okay, after you have mentioned, then only you can give the serial number. So if there is a client in A category, you will give the entire 50 rows, entire client A1. Understood? We are on the same page. Now, how the sample is selected. And in case you have obtained any client, now the peer review is all about this client list only. So for those clients you have not generated UDN, not to part of peer review. Okay? Now, for any of these clients, if any UDN is generated for any client received via tender, after the name of the client, in bracket, word bracket tender is to be mentioned. Okay? Now, how sample is to be selected? At least one client from each of the category. At least one client for each of the office. At least one client for each of the signing partner. So those partners who have already resigned from the firm, for them also you need to have a sample. How will you organize the records? Well, you have to organize. It's your choice.
So what happens? The same company, three partners selling at three different ways.
I'll just come to that. Now, for each type of engagement, at least one sample is required. That is why I said, if you mention 15 CSEB, if you mention net worth certificate, if you mention turnover certificate separately, peer reviewer will have no option but to select at least one type of each, and your sample will get increased. Better to specify certification, your sample will remain small. Okay? For each of the financial year, at least one sample is to be picked. For highest turnover statutory audit client, it is mandatory to pick that. For again, at least one sample of tender client. Understood? Now, if you are picking, if you have picked one client, ABC Private Limited, you have let's say for that private limited you have statutory audit in the Companies Act, you have tax audit, you have certification, and let's say 3 engagements you have. Now, if you select for one client, if you select multiple engagements, it will be treated as multiple samples. However, to avoid any any confusion or any discussion, we recommend to not select more than one type of engagement for a particular client. However, for one client or for one type of engagement, one UDN will serve as a one sample. However, if you have selected statutory audit sample for all the 3 years of a particular client, it will be treated as one sample. So it depends upon type of engagement. I hope I have clarified, sir. Enough. Now, I just have 3-4 minutes more. One thing, this particular I skipped, 21 I have clarified, tender. This is second part. Concentration, please, just a second, sir. This concentration, after you fill the below, prepare UDN wise client list, everything is done. This is to be prepared. What is it? Out of the below mentioned clients, if you have received from any client more than 15% of your total firm P&L turnover, whether assurance and non-assurance. So client will be there in the assurance segment only, but from that client, total fees of assurance as well as non-assurance, like ITR filing, GST filing. Okay, total fee component received from that client of denominator P&L turnover. If it is exceeding 15%, you need to disclose the same. It has no adverse implication. It's just that at least one client from this list needs to be picked up. This is the broad sample selection criteria. At least 10 UDNs needs to be picked up. Again, this is up to turnover of 5 crores. In case of increase of turnover, sample size also increase. It's mentioned in the sample selection criteria.
Sir,
you were saying something, sir.
Sir, if I choose the reviewer, if I choose one client, should I make sure I verify all these certificates?
No. UDN, I mentioned 10 UDNs.
Okay, only the UDN. So if I choose only stat audit, based on that highest turnover client, I choose only stat audit, I will not verify tax audit.
No necessity. No. 10 UDNs.
Okay.
So here we are giving details of non-assurance.
I'm not getting.
Type of service assurance and non-assurance. So you receive a money more than 15% from non-assurance. Even if you give, he is not going to give you.
No, definitely. That's for sure.
If there is a client from whom there is only non-assurance income.
No, it will not come.
It will not come.
It will not come in the list. That's why I picked this up later on. Okay. Now I wish to clarify what just show you before I conclude. I have 2-3 minutes. Before I conclude, I have one document to show you, and this is that document. This is AQMM. This is not just a second. This is AQMM. This is self-questioning, self-scoring. Based on the given question and based on the parameter, you need to score your firm. Basically, you need to score your firm, and such score will be assessed, evaluated by the peer reviewer based on the underlying documents, and accordingly, he will also give one score and as annexure 3 to the peer review report. And this is very exhaustive. You can see if the firm is having vision, mission statement. If the firm is having all these formats, see, these are the detailed formats. I mean, it's very exhaustive. Time is less. It's very exhaustive. So I will only suggest that whenever you are getting a firm peer review, it is suggested to at least go through all the formats, either to be submitted by you or to be submitted by peer reviewer, and get your firm pre-peer reviewed either by yourself or by your fellow partner or by your third year article, if there is any, okay, or if by your fellow member. But please get prepared, and it will result in smooth peer review activity of your firm. And this is the final peer review report formats, which is very small. If you compare, this is the model final report, 2-pager. No changes are to be made except the blank parts. Annexure 1 is again very small. Specific observations including preliminary report, including if appointment letters were issued to the staff, and again Annexure 2, which I mentioned earlier, already covered, it includes the essay-wise reporting. See, essay 530, essay 320. So if you are not having that document, what will peer reviewer will report? You need to also understand from his view as well, and not just offer him good lunch. You also need to offer him good documents as well. So, considering the paucity of time, I'll conclude here. If you have any queries, please raise with me, with other speaker, but please raise. It is your session, and peer review wants you to raise queries and get with this thought back to your office that yes, your practical concerns were addressed. Thank you.
Dear member, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to CA Ayush ji for delivering an extremely insightful and enriching session on the rationale and significance of peer review procedures and reporting by peer reviewer, and importance of audit quality maturity model in peer review. Sir, your session has truly helped us understanding the deeper purpose and spirit behind the peer review mechanism. The way you explained the connection between the audit quality, reporting standard and professional excellence has been highly impactful. Your detailed guidance on the review procedures, documentation requirements and AQMM framework has provided great clarity. Now I request Chairman of Bengaluru branch Manjunath M. Hallur sir to kindly hand over a memento to the speaker on behalf of Bengaluru branch and the member present here.